Hey, hey, hey. Welcome back to Trek Chat, a podcast brought to you by Trek on the Tube. As usual, I am your host, Sean, and today I am joined by two very special guests, two new guests. The first one is the third Star Trek Musketeer in the Nerd Escape podcast, Linda, aka Hen in the Hat. How are you doing? Thank you so much for being here.
I'm good. I'm good. Yes, I'm the third musketeer, the third tresketeer, trekketeer, trekketeer,
Treksketeer.
tresketeer. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, the third trekkie.
My second guest of honor is the Commodore, Mustache Man, Dan Dicker. He is not the third in anything, but he is the second in networking on Nimbus 3. He's also got his own podcast, Bad Choices and Bourbon. Is it Bad Choices and Bourbon or Bourbon
It
and
is
Bad Choices?
Bad Choices and Bourbon.
It's Bad Choices and Bourbon. Here you go. I got it right because I got it wrong. That's it.
That's right, exactly.
And thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, Sean, man, thanks for having me. And it's also great fun to be here with Linda, who for ages I thought her Twitter handle was HelenArt1 instead of Hen in a Hat. So just because, I don't know, that's the way I read it, and that's still kind of how I see it sometimes these days.
Could be worse. I don't mind.
Could be worse, yeah. And for some reason, that always reminded me of a chicken. I don't know. Who knows where my brain goes these days?
Well, Hen in the Hat is chicken.
Hen in the Hat. So my brain was putting it all
Yes.
together. Yeah,
Yeah.
no. See, yeah. I was on the right track.
It's fine. It all works. Today is a bit of a special episode of Trek Chat because we usually take like a grand theme or a general topic and then kind of dive into that. But today we are talking more specifically about not an aspect of Star Trek, but one film, Star Trek Nemesis. That's it. That's the movie. To add a bit of context to that, I grew up watching Voyager and TNG. That's what I grew up watching. And I grew up watching the TNG movies. I had, not that I had no clue the original series movies, but they never kind of crossed my path. So for me, the movies were the TNG movies, and I used to love, as a kid, Nemesis. I just thought it was amazing. And then as I grew up, and this is without any influence from the outside fandom, of which I did not know existed, I kind of grew up and I suppose learnt more about films or started to appreciate films better. And then I suppose Nemesis got devalued a bit. I started, finding little errors. But that love, although it is not as strong, still stays with me to this day. I still very much enjoy Nemesis. And so when I was confronted with the fandom, or rather the opinion that the fandom, generally speaking, has of Nemesis, I was very confused. I was like, wait a minute, why do so many people dislike this movie so much? They're like, some people loathe it, right? I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Yep.
So when I find people to talk positives about it, I'm so happy. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about, I suppose we can critique some things if there's really something that bugs us, but yeah. The idea is to throw flowers at Nemesis. There you go. That's it.
I can say, Sean, that that childhood nostalgia and then kind of the reevaluation of its merit as you get older, but you can never overcome that original love. What for me would be relative to The Wrath of Khan. I was 7 years old when I saw that in the theater in '82, and just that being what that moment was, but as I've gotten older, it's not in my top 5 Star Trek films anymore. And yeah. I mean, it's a great
either. So
yeah, it's great. It's a great movie still, and I will have that nostalgic love for it for the rest of my life. But as you said, the awe and wonder that it struck as a kid, kind of, once you get a critical eye to it, you're kind of like, well, but it's still mine.
See, I was the opposite of you, Sean. I did not. Yeah, like TNG was my growing up Star Trek as well. So I was completely in love with all the characters, and I did not fully enjoy Nemesis, probably mainly because of Data. I just thought they did not need to kill off beloved Data My sister actually has never gone back to that movie after what they did to him. She was traumatized.
Oh,
So
wow.
she was like, no, that movie does not exist. So I didn't like it, but the last couple of views of it, I have started to pick out things that I absolutely love in it. So now I can kind of watch it as a film and kind of get over what I first got from it, because I'm looking at all these really, really cool things. For example, my absolute favorite Enterprise is just showcased so beautifully in this film. The shots are so spectacular. And I just things like that. I'm just picking out things I love, and there is a lot of hate for this movie. I don't fully understand the hate. We'd have to get into that, but I don't want
to overanalyze it, but this was pre the Kurtzman era of Star Trek, and this was pre the J.J. Abrams era, and I think there was already kind of that little, I suppose, spark of a group of people that wanted to find something to hate. I think maybe, and so maybe that's why like Nemesis was a good thing. The whole Data death maybe pushed them over the edge. I don't know.
Yeah.
And so instead of just taking it and being like, oh, I didn't appreciate this movie, it became kind of like a we have to hate on this. Because what you were saying about your sister's, like, kind of, you say it jokingly, she says, oh, this movie doesn't exist. The first time I've actually heard people say, like, oh, this doesn't count as canon, wasn't for, like, Discovery or anything. It was for Nemesis. Like, people would say that for, Nemesis doesn't count. I'm like, oh, yeah, well, I'm sorry to say, it kind of does. But,
well, because they say it
does now.
Yeah,
it was so shocking. It was just a shocking thing to happen to one of our favorite characters, and it's not like he came back in the next movie. I didn't give him a chance.
Isn't it? I love it so much.
Well, and it's shocking start to finish. Like it kicks off with a literal bang, and then I'm with you, Linda. I thought. While, in the spirit of the character, ultimately in the spirit of the character, B4 kind of cheapened Data's sacrifice. And I'm glad that we didn't pick that up and run with it later on down the line. They kind of were like, they literally fridged him. And maybe rightfully so. And we get to see a better
They drawed him, technically. They put him in a drawer, right?
They drawed him, yeah. But we get to see a better denouement for Data than what we got in Nemesis. But to Linda's point, the E looks fantastic. And even critics kind of give over to the battle choreography that we got at the end. That's one of the more well-executed space battles in Trek and in general. And that kind of, that touches back to one of the problems I had early on with like Insurrection, was how poorly those effects hold up now. And I didn't like that. I didn't like that movie a lot. I've come to enjoy it more. And I think that's one of the things like this, as you grow, as you learn, and as you see it more and become more familiar with it, you find the things that you do like about it. But I've always enjoyed Nemesis, a lot of it because, one, it brings Ron Perlman into the Star Trek family, and that's never a bad thing. And two, it gives us Tom Brady. Not Tom Brady, Jesus.
Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy. So hell, take that out. Tom Brady needs to stay away from Star Trek. Tom Hardy in a very slender frame that is not what he looks a lot like these days. But I really enjoyed the character of Shinzon. So those two things alone kind of added a depth to Trek that we hadn't had to that point. And I really appreciated that. And we get to see some Remans.
Yes. I love the Remans, actually.
That's a big thing. In my recent rewatch of the original series, I actually noticed that the first time the Romulans appear, they mention Remus. They mention Romulus has a sister planet, Remus. I was like, oh my god, the Remans have been basically established canon. Or at least the planet has been, since back in the original series, since the 60s. And it's like it took this long to explore them. And then it, like, just the lore and the world building around the Remans is one of my favorite things ever. Like, I just love it. So I'm kind of depressed now that they probably all did. The Romulus super.
They wouldn't have evacuated any Remans, I doubt.
I don't think they would have evacuated Remans, and I don't think a lot of them escaped, generally speaking, during their lifetimes. But yeah, I love the the whole mining thing. Not that I want people to work in mines, but I like the idea of like the Romulans and how they just took control of this planet and this sister planet and just enslaved everyone. I don't know. I thought it was great world building.
Well, and two, it gives over to some of the criticism that's come forward, like in Picard, is the variety in the Romulans that we see. One, that's not new, y'all. There's been variety in the structure of Romulan and Vulcans too, in their facial structure for the run of the show. But it gives, it showed an aspect of, hey, if you put a subclass of folks in a dim, dark place for a long enough time, they become almost something else. And, they showed us then that far back, there's a diversity in these cultures that you haven't been exposed to yet. And they played into it a little bit in Enterprise too.
Yeah. And can I just put my cosplay hat on for a second and just say what incredible costumes the Remans had. The Shinzon's lovely petrol rainbow effect, plasticky thing with the shoulder point. Oh, it was amazing. I don't think I will ever achieve that costume because I have no idea what to use. But it looked amazing.
It's so elaborate.
It is.
Yeah, one of my favorites.
Well, it's kind of on the order of Hela's costume from Ragnarok.
Oh yeah,
it's
true.
got that same vibe going, you know.
Yeah, it's very villainous. But I was like, because this isn't gonna work timeline wise. But yesterday, as of when we're recording this now, I did a live stream of me watching the movie. And I just rewatched the movie, and I kept on commenting on these costumes because, and I wonder how they get in them, like the actual physical Remans, like how the hell are they getting this thing? But it's they look so cool, yes. They really do. And I even like the Remans are they're the ugliest looking motherfuckers.
Yeah, they ain't pretty,
but I love them. They're like space orcs. I don't know. I like the design
and a very Nosferatu vibe.
Almost, yeah.
Yes, yeah, totally.
Well, that's what Ron Perlman brings to it, doesn't he?
Because
he brings like I don't know. He's got a lot of gravitas in that character when he starts doing like the mental kind of violations, all of that. He brings a lot of presence to it.
Well, that's Ron Perlman.
Yeah, he's
say, Linda?
It's all in the eyes. He's a very good eye actor, which you really have to be when you're wearing all that makeup on your face.
Well, and that was he was no stranger. I don't know the timeline, but he becomes no stranger to heavy makeup. Well, having done Beauty and the Beast back in the 80s and 90s, he emoted very well through the makeup technology of that time, and then he brings that with him, through to Hellboy, and then into this as well, which. That is, and to his fellow Trek alumni and former cast member Doug Jones, who can act and emote extremely well through makeup. They played together in Hellboy, he really that under that makeup, especially in the technology at the time, you have to sell it in the eyes.
Totally.
Not Tom Brady.
Not Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy is just amazing in this movie. Like, I'm not the biggest Tom Hardy fan nowadays, and mainly not so much because of him, but because of the movies that he's in. But I think that he just kills it in Nemesis.
Yes.
Really.
Oh yeah, he's amazing. And they did have to put prosthetics on his face to try and make him look a bit like Stewart, and then they had the backstory of he was getting beaten up by the guards or whatever, and that's why he doesn't totally look like young Picard from TNG, but he did a great job.
Let me take that for just a second, Linda, and let's talk about how sometimes they want us to, they make too many excuses. They don't give us as the audience enough credit. I was talking to, I can't remember who now, but let me fill in some of the details with my own. It was just, this previous recording I was on today. And it's like when, in Solo, the Star Wars story, we don't need to know why his last name is Solo. Okay. We don't need to know that there was a reason he was called that. You don't have to retcon why a completely other actor Sell it to me with the story, not the prosthetics.
Yeah.
That's one of the beauties of some of the limitations of the original series compared to what we can do now, is that they had to tell you the story because the makeup wasn't doing it, and so it was in the acting, it was in the story, and give us some credit, man. Obviously people are gonna bitch and moan about this movie whether or not you try to give us a believable backstory as to why Shinzon doesn't look like Picard. I'll go on that journey with you if you take me.
Yeah, exactly right. Like Shinzon doesn't look like. I mean, they even explain like he was aged up 30 years and what was it, 4 or 5 years or whatever. He had like an accelerated growth, and you can't believe that he doesn't look exactly the same. Yeah, his lips are a bit more,
Pouty.
But yeah, that's right, pulpous. But hey, whatever, right? It's not the same actor. They didn't de-age Sir Patrick Stewart, right?
Yeah, we're not
God.
stupid. We're not stupid.
Which, yeah, like, to be honest, if they could remake Nemesis entirely today and like do a de-aging of like I would rather have what we had with another actor.
Yeah, totally,
absolutely.
Yeah, because Patrick Stewart could not play the bad guy opposite his good guy. That would just be a Patrick Stewart fest. Which some people would love.
That
Some people would
distorted
love
mirror
that, but,
image.
You need a bad guy.
That's the closest we have to a mirror Picard is in Shinzon, and you don't want your good guy to be that bad guy. It gave him kind of a slithery, sinister effect that wouldn't be the same had they used other technology or tried too hard to make it look that way. And that's one of the things that I love about the updated aesthetics in Discovery, is that they give the audience credit for filling in the blanks or the accepting it or don't. But they're like, these are Klingons now, and these probably have always been Klingons. So we don't have to tell you why they look the way they look, because we all know that the practical reasons make sense. You got to update the makeup to look good in 4K.
I think
But behind the scenes,
on that, though.
Oh, are they?
I think so.
And fan pressure will do that. And if we can have a reasonable way to make that story play out, that is essentially the third kind of Klingon, which in the timeline they should have all still had smooth foreheads. But whatever. The point is,
glory be the day where I see all of the different Klingons on screen together. I don't even need a line to explain why. Just put them all
Just do
together.
it.
That sounds like a Lower Decks episode.
It does. Like Boimler's all confused because there's 7 types of Klingons in front of him. He doesn't know. Like, they're all Klingons? Yes. But isn't that...
Mike McMahon, are you listening?
We have ideas.
And also do we have ideas? Star Trek, please contact us.
That's the episode. Kling on or kling off.
Right? Oh, right. Yeah. Ridges or not. Oh my God, we could go to so many dark places with that. Yeah. But the point being, like you said, just give me some credit. let me fill in some of the holes. I'm willing to accept. I would rather go back to an earlier Trek and repaint that scene with the updated aesthetic in my mind than try to shove a modern show into an outdated aesthetic. So but, you don't have to over bake it there, Star Trek.
Something that was completely new in Nemesis, though, was all of the Romulan aesthetics when it comes to like Romulus, the city, the Senate, and all of that. Because we had explored some of the Romulan ships in TNG, and the D'Deridex class is probably my favorite Star Trek ship. It's like the most beautiful thing, and it just blows my mind how big it is. Like, you could almost fit an Enterprise D inside it, or inside the hull. And yeah, so just like this Romulus city, the Senate, everything looks so good. And as you were saying, Linda, the scimitar is just the most beautiful thing ever.
It's so cool.
And story-wise, it makes sense because it's like it's she's a predator, right? Yeah. She's a warship, so yeah.
Yes.
And two, you see a call forward to the Narada from the scimitar.
It's like, yeah, a little bit, yeah.
That design aesthetic.
Yeah. And the new Romulan ships are beautiful as well. John Eaves, of course, sprinkled his magic.
And everything helps it too, because the music in Nemesis is one of the strongest things of the movie. Like, I love the opening music. I love the score when, like, there's tension and they're waiting for basically Shinzon to reveal himself in space, where they're waiting for the scimitar to appear. I think the music is so strong.
Now, I did pick that scene out in my mind when they're waiting for Shinzon to appear. And again, later on, when Deanna is trying to find the coordinates, and they play the same little tune, and it's kind of like bling, 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 bling. And I was like, well, this is a bit out of place. And I didn't like it. But then my brain said, hold on a second, go and rewatch Balance of Terror. So I went and rewatched Balance of Terror, and it's similar vibes. It is similar vibes. So I can see what they were doing with that music.
Okay. Oh, they were making a couple of callbacks.
Yeah, it seemed like they were like, look, we're doing Balance of Terror, but, you know... Especially, yeah, actually, when Diana was trying to find those coordinates and she was going into the guy's head, and they had that lighting where her eyes were all highlighted, and that's exactly
They give her the Kirk lighting, don't they?
Yes, exactly,
Well,
the Kirk. Yeah, Kirk eyes.
Let's talk real quick about how progressive Romulan society is too. They had Commander Julie Newmar in charge. Yeah. Is it Sinatra?
Sinatra, I think.
Yeah. Wasn't she played by Julie Newmar? I think. But in command of the vessel, and obviously many progressive positions of power in Romulan society. And so, and two, so many of those aesthetics you can see the through line from the aesthetics established in the original series. They grow those up real well. Yeah,
and the floor of the Senate was a lovely map, and they had the neutral zone going through. It's kind of like a yin-yang kind of a symbol, which is the whole mirror theme of the movie, with the light and the dark and the Romulus and the Remus, and... Yeah, then you have this big yin-yang in the middle of the floor.
That's amazing.
But yeah, that was based on the original series map as well, which I liked. I watched it with the Okuda commentary. So I have all these little details fresh in my head. Yeah, it's fascinating.
Man, the Okudas. Yeah. Good stuff. Treasures in the franchise.
Oh, royalty.
Yeah, there's like a big mirrored theme going through the whole movie. You know what? In my rewatch yesterday, because they have that font, Star Trek Nemesis, when like in the opening credits, that for some reason they didn't use anywhere else. I love that font. And they have like the R. There's an upside down R in I think it's Trek. No, I think it's Star that has the upside down R. Whatever. And it was the first time I realized that, it's not, well, I knew it was mirrored, but then I thought, is one for Remus and one for Romulus?
And then as the title, pulls back, like when the second E flips around it's a really well done opening sequence. And I used those establishing shots and that city aesthetic, the Romulan community aesthetic, to help when I was listening to Last Best Hope, the Picard novel from Dr. Una McCormick. I used those aesthetics and to help me paint those pictures in my mind while I was listening to that story. So sold it really well, setting that up.
Yes,
and beautiful too.
It was very nice.
Okay, so I have to talk about this because this scene gets a lot of shit. I just have to.
Okay.
It's the scene on the planet. So there's two parts of it. The scene in the planet in the beginning. There's two parts to it. There's first we go around and we're looking for B4. But then of course there's the chase with the dune buggy, and I don't know. People don't seem to like Fun Picard. I love it. Yeah, I love it so much.
I love the Argo flying out of the shuttle. I love that scene. It's silly.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Yes, totally, and I love it. But you could tell it was Patrick Stewart going, "I want to drive a very fast car around this planet," and okay, whatever you say, Sir Patrick.
Yeah, of
course. Go for it. Knock yourself out.
Now, why are the other people there? Why are they? They're not looking for B4, but they're just there to be, some sort of pressure, some sort of ticking clock. But there are the cadre of people who refuse to allow Star Trek to be fun, even though Star Trek has evidently always been fun. And that's just one. I mean, come on, it's the same. It's a dune buggy version of the shuttle chase from Insurrection.
Yeah.
I mean, have some fun.
It is very
Well,
fun.
yeah. I mean, I don't see the thing like, do we really need a dune buggy when we have shuttles? Like, yes.
Yes.
We have all sorts of vehicles on Earth. Not like some of them are redundant because we have other vehicles, but we still have them. If someone can build something, they're gonna build it, and someone else is gonna use it. So yes, we have dune buggies in space. It's fine. And the villains, the bad guys that are on the planet, I don't know. Like, it's very easily explainable. Either Shinzon paid them, either he just placed B4 there so that, because the objective is to get B4 on the ship as quickly as possible so that he can basically start spying or gathering information. So you don't want Picard and his team to start asking too many questions and maybe leave before on the planet surface. So if you put it on a planet, plop it down where there's already villains, or that there's like these, I don't know, they're basically Star Wars people.
Yeah.
that go around chasing you down in the desert. So yeah, if you know that there's people on that planet that's going to chase Picard, throw them down there. They'll take B4 back to the ship. Assuredly, right? It works for me.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Well, and too, when it comes to having a dune buggy, a dune buggy sequence, we sent them to the moon. We sent a dune buggy to the moon because it's fun to drive a dune buggy. We figured out a way to shove it on a tiny little spaceship, and we figured out one of the more important things we need to send to the moon is a dune buggy. Okay? Have some fun with space, y'all. We literally did it in real time.
Also, I think it could have also been a case of putting a test screening in front of some suits and the suits going needs more action. How about a car chase? Throw a car chase.
That looks like it was fun.
Yeah.
I'd go on that ride.
Yeah, same. I wouldn't want to be Worf though in the back banging his head off the roll cage.
Michael Dorn is a hero.
Well, he's got the weapon though.
Yeah. I thought it was kind of odd, though, that they were shooting at the guys. Why they were just trying to, if they were trying to drive fast or use science or something, but they were shooting at the guys chasing them. That wasn't very Star Trekky. I don't know. It was kind of violent.
Not very Picard.
Yeah.
He's a little diplomat. He's done by this time. He's already been through First Contact. He's got no more lines to be drawn. So he's like, screw these guys. This is my dune buggy.
Yeah.
Worf.
He's drawn his line.
Cook them.
Well, I got to admit that his diplomacy skills in this film aren't the best because, he arrives at Romulus and he basically starts negotiating with whoever's in charge, and it's a human that's got a bunch of remans that are now in charge of of the Romulus Senate or whatever it is. He's the new Praetor, and it's you're not asking a single question. You're not wondering why it's not a Romulan. It's a human with a bunch of remans. Clearly maybe some sort of
familiar human
coup has happened. You just start negotiating immediately. You would assume that, I don't know, go back to your bosses, tell them maybe it's a terrorist of some kind. But Picard is also the man who showed up in Conspiracy and just phaser blasted a high-ranking Starfleet admiral because maybe they're a parasite.
Yeah.
Well, they were. So
checking in with the dadmirals, not Picard's jam.
No. With the mom. Well, she was a mommerl.
Yeah, no, she wasn't having none of his garbage. I love that the community has photoshopped in Janeway over that image.
Oh, really? I haven't seen that.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's hard to believe it's not actually her, but it's not to get off on that. That moment did not bother me.
Well, it's a perfect transition because Janeway is in this movie. Yay!
Yeah. She is. I know, and boy, did she! She what was this? Was 3 years after Voyager, and I guess if you get your crew home from the Delta Quadrant, you get a promotion just for the asking, because she went straight to the top.
You get fireworks and a promotion.
Right?
Yeah.
Fireworks straight off your ship into the office. start working.
That's right.
That's amazing.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's like, hey, Janeway, do you want to go back out with another ship? No.
Yeah.
I want an office job now. I'd rather stay at home, thanks.
Yep, good on the exploration part. We're good.
Yeah,
Done a
too
bit
many
of
weird
that.
things could happen.
You can go download the information on the ship, and I'll stay here.
Oh man, I do love some Janeway. I'm mega excited for upcoming Prodigy.
yes.
What a great time it is to be a fan right now.
I cannot wait for Prodigy. I love Janeway. She's my favourite.
That's how I'm going to indoctrinate my daughter. I'm going to sit her down in
Oh,
front
yeah.
of Prodigy.
Yes.
Straight up.
Exactly.
There you go. That's how, and then that leads naturally into Lower Decks, obviously.
Yeah. After a few years.
Yeah, naturally. I think that the animated series is probably more appropriate than Lower Decks, but yeah.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
It's good to have a friend like you, Jim.
Speaking of friends, the wedding scene.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I loved the wedding scene. I loved it. Yeah, it was the closure that everyone needed. You know, we just wanted those two to get together, and they finally settled down, tied the knot. We had Data singing. We had drunk Worf. Guinan was there.
And Wesley's in there too.
Wesley was there.
Guinan,
Wesley didn't get even a close up, though. I was very disappointed. He was just at the edge of the table in 2 shots. Very disappointed, poor Wesley. They should have been like, "Hey, Wesley, what are you doing here?" Well, after all my travels with the Traveler.
Yeah, right.
Womp womp.
Oh, hey, Wesley. Yeah, I've been out traveling the galaxy, discovering things you can't even comprehend, but,
Yeah.
But
the champagne
thanks,
is nice.
I'll be a lieutenant now. Yeah. Janeway gets an admiralty. I discovered godlike powers of the universe, and I'm a lieutenant.
All I get was this T-shirt.
All I got was this dress uniform. Speaking of those dress uniforms, though, they finally got them right.
Oh, they're beautiful.
Yeah, they look good.
Yeah.
They're gorgeous. They're gorgeous. Notoriously hard to cosplay. But I'm a big fan of the wedding scene. Like you said, Linda, it just brings us a note, and we get a good payoff on that. If you watch Picard, that comes home real well.
Yes. Yeah. And it was so, like, I think we know it was the last movie. Yeah, we knew it was going to be the last TNG movie, didn't we?
I'm not sure if we knew yet, because
Did we not?
like they thought it was going to make money, but it did not make money.
I was going to say, was it planned to be the last, or
I think
were they just making movies until eventually
No,
one flopped?
I think the tagline, wasn't there a tagline, the final journey or something like that?
Could be. Let me see, I'm gonna
But it was
pull up the
lovely
poster
just to
here.
tie up the Troy and Riker romance, and just you could tell that Jonathan Frakes and especially Marina were just, they were feeling that emotion. You could tell. It was lovely. Bit of a lump in my throat actually thinking back.
Their relationship has grown to be one of the better things, just in the lore overall. But speaking of Jonathan Frakes, I think that is, and this is one of the things that the biggest critics, kind of lay at the feet of this, is that had he been the director, we probably would have gotten, we got a good film, but we would have probably gotten a great Star Trek film if Frakes had directed that, because he could have gotten, I think he could have probably pulled so much more out of Hardy and Sir Pat to get that even, to add some flavor and deliciousness to what was already there. Because talk about two guys with chops, those two actors have got the goods. And even Hardy at such a young, I don't know if it was his, it's got to be one of his first big roles. Maybe if not the first biggest role, but obviously real good talent already there. But yeah, I think that's one of our missed opportunities in Star Trek.
Oh, definitely, definitely. I'm sure he had some passes of the script, and he probably had some ideas bubbling, but I don't know. Yeah, it just went to different hands.
Yeah, I don't know what the backstory is behind that, but especially considering Riker, and I just rewatched this, I now remember it, but usually I completely forget that he has a fight with the Viceroy. Jonathan Frakes and Ron Perlman fight it out in the lower decks, and I completely forget about all of that every time. But yeah, it's you got Jonathan Frakes rolling around fighting someone, and then he kicks the Viceroy into the abyss, which starts off the kicking people into the abyss tradition that now exists in Star Trek.
The
Well,
turbulent
he
abyss.
said his kicks to kill, He's got his
Yeah.
fist set to stun and his kick set to kill. You know.
But yeah, it could have been interesting to have Jonathan Frakes directing. Maybe we would have gotten a bit more of the Cardassian torture scene with Picard kind of vibe.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, two great actors playing strong off each other. That's for sure. But I've enjoyed this movie. Had the good fortune to still be working in a movie theater at the time that this was released, and so I got to see it ahead of everyone, and it even then I remember thinking, I like this, and I felt like it was better than Insurrection, which in contemporary to Insurrection, I thought, wow, what a really great 2-part episode of The Next Generation.
Yeah.
That's how it played for me for years, until like I said, nostalgia or hindsight. I've rewatched it a couple times since, and it's actually a better film than I gave it credit for. But the special effects still don't work.
Yeah. Well, that's true. Yeah. We were talking about the interrogation. I didn't like Data's little interrogation of B4. I didn't like how Data went interrogatey. He's like, what do you know of the Romulans? Nothing, I don't know anything, brother. Please, what are you doing?
Poor B4.
I didn't like that at all.
Well, Data's justifiably jaded against his brothers.
Yeah.
He hasn't run into anything good out of them yet.
Yeah, no, that's true.
I mean, Data's friggin' scary. There's this episode where, oh god, the guy from the past that pretends he's from the future in TNG?
Yes.
And he's stealing shit. There's a scene where Data tells him, like, you have to get off your shuttle and come out. And the guy says, and then he very calmly just says it matter-of-factly. He goes, if you don't get off the shuttle, I'm going to rip your arm off. Something to that effect. He doesn't use those exact words. And you just kind of blink and then look at Data, and you're like, he's very terrifying sometimes. Because sometimes, he's got no emotions, basically, but sometimes you feel like he turns off the, I don't know, the empathy off.
Yeah, but
he's just like, I'm going to be full Data now.
You also kind of think, oh, he's getting very good at imitating humans. Like he's obviously watched some detective movie the night before, and he knows how to talk to people, but
Shake somebody down.
Yeah. You just I kind of would hope that he's doing the imitating there and not actually being so cold and evil.
Oh, you think that? Yeah,
he's
it's
just
better
getting
to think that than that's the
Yeah.
actual Data. But then
Exactly.
I give credit to Brent Spiner's performance, because not for 1 second do I see Brent Spiner twice.
Yeah.
Weirdly, I really do see Data, and I really do see B4.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
B4 feels so, I don't know, he's so genuine, he's so, naive and innocent, and he feels very childlike. So
Yeah.
the interrogation is a bit jarring, because
Yeah.
it's really
Feels like you're beating up on a kid.
yeah, kinda.
Yeah.
And Prince Spiner's just sitting there, no, I don't know. Oh my god.
For Brent Spiner too, let's talk about what an absolute gem of an actor that man is. All through his role as Data. One, as we watch Data progress through the seasons of The Next Generation, there's so much nuance that builds in that character over those seasons. But just episodes like Masks and A Fistful of Datas, and where he played 15 versions of his own ancestry. Yes. In that one episode where he learns to dream, and then the multiple instances of his own android self. Just incredible range in one actor, ostensibly in one character. Always a treat to get to see Brent put on a show.
Yeah. He's amazing. He's so amazing, and he's a lovely guy. If you ever meet him.
I've yet to get to meet him, but I hope to someday, because Data's big stuff to me.
Yeah.
I mean, he's always taking the piss out of everyone on Twitter. He seems fun.
It's hilarious. It's hilarious.
Totally. Yeah, he had a little web show a few years ago, Fresh Hell. You should check out a few episodes, because there are some guest stars. There's one LeVar guest stars in one of them, and it's just like, come on, you gotta lend me some money. He's like, don't ask me, ask Patrick. No, I don't. It's so good. It's so good. Yeah.
They it was LeVar's birthday a couple days ago, and they were having some fun with each other on Twitter. That was like, Brent was basically like, "Happy birthday to my brother, even though Mom loved you more." And it's just just to see the two of see that relationship in real life is heartwarming.
Yeah.
But the relationship they built in that show was next level. But before, I wasn't really satisfied with it. Although in the end, spoiler alert, when he starts humming "Blue Skies," it got me. It did.
Yeah. Yes.
Still
me too.
does.
And actually, the opening scene of Picard was just continuing the last notes of Nemesis, and it's just I loved that. The opening scene of Picard was my favorite scene of Picard. So.
Yeah, well, I think episode 1 of Picard it came out really strong. Like, Picard came out at the gate really, really strong, and usually Star Trek shows have difficulty with those first episodes, I find. But
one thing I learned is that Picard was premiered with the first 3 episodes cut together, and I feel like that we should have that opportunity without credits and interruptions and be able to watch those 3, because that would make a pretty solid movie. Because that's the first episode, and then you feel like you're kind of in a lull because you're in the second act of a 3-act play.
You're surrounded by content creators. Just ask anyone. We can all cut it together for you.
Oh man, we'll fix it, right? We'll make it work. And
skip intro, you'd be great.
But yeah, I think that would be a great experience. But problem with, or one of the things with Picard that kind of caught me off was that it felt like we had to rush to the end, and then the ending was, so incredibly gut punchy, but again with Data, but yeah, it kicked off really well, and it built right off of, as you said earlier, Sean, we don't get diplomacy. We get like right down to it with Picard this time around, and that is built up. You can kind of feel that having built up over the years leading up to his position in Picard, where he's left Starfleet because he's so frustrated with having to put up with the bullshit.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So many Admirals later, you kind of get over it, right?
Yeah.
These ideals that I try to live up to, but none of my bosses seem to implement. God damn it.
Right. Well, and where he learned the valuable lesson of all good admiralty, especially Commodore Matt Decker, in that you can't continue to make a difference in the admiralty if you get off the ship. You have to be on the ship. You have to be out there doing things, helping people, bringing Romulans to refuge. Despite their government's efforts to keep that from happening. If you haven't, Picard: Last Best Hope is a good read. It's especially if you like Nemesis and you like Picard. It's a great gap filler.
I don't really read the Trek books, to be honest.
No, neither do
I feel like, I don't know. I sound really horrible when I say this, but I feel like, considering they're not canon, I don't really want to invest time in them. Does that make sense?
No, I'm the same.
Does.
And I also think if you're missing some details from the series and then a book comes out to fill in the gap, I think that's kind of cheating. Like,
yes.
do they want us to know these facts or not? Some of us don't read the books. We don't have time. I haven't read a book for about 7 years because I have a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old. I've only read kids' books. So.
Funny how that works out.
Look, Wife on the Tube has been working through Pride and Prejudice for 2.5 years now. Baby's 2.5. That's it. So.
Funny, yeah. But Linda, I will agree with you wholeheartedly. The story you tell me should not require or depend on in any way ancillary media. those should be that word. They should be ancillary. They should be complementary. They should be expanded lore, and that's kind of where, first of all, I say read, and that means audible. And so these have all I've listened to the Enterprise War as one of the Discovery novels, and I have the Janeway autobiography, and I have Picard. And I've read one physical Star Trek novel when I was young, My Enemy and My Ally by Diane Duane, and I liked it, but and it involved Romulans, so it all ties together. But I'm with you; those books, they aren't canon until some of those bits become canon. And that's the same why I haven't invested my time too much into them, because it's something that I would learn then have to forget if it changed, right? And then be confused about. And then I'll be one of those bitter old, gray-bearded dudes on internet mad about Star Trek. So, but these have, like, obviously the autobiography of Catherine Janeway is not going to be a story that has a huge impact or one way or the other on quote canon, and it is some good pulp filler, right? It's a good, I mean, not to discredit Una's work, but it's one of those where none of that information is going to overload. It's something good to listen to, and also it's narrated by Kate Mulgrew, so big reasons to get in on that one. Yeah, I know, right?
Can I also drop in about short treks as well, because there is an episode of Short Treks, Children of Mars, which directly leads into Picard, and I've never seen it, and it's not available to me. I'd have to go and buy the Picard Blu-ray set to see it, which makes no sense. If it's important,
that's a shame.
I can see it, and I buy the Blu-rays, and then I do giveaways on Twitter. I do giveaways on YouTube. But of course, like what I buy, they're region blocked, so I can only give them to basically North America. But I complain about it in my video. I was like, God damn it! They released this Short Treks pack, and of the 10 Short Treks, there were only 9 because friggin' Children of Mars. Yeah. Anyway, you're not losing much.
Oh, they artificially cut it out of the...
Yeah, they cut it out because they're selling it with the Picard. So now I have the Picard Blu-ray that I'll be giving away. Again, region blocked. So the Children of Mars is on, and it's like
it's left in a kind of a limbo. Like it's, we saw all the Discovery Short Treks. We're missing a bunch of other Short Treks from season 2 of Short Treks. We didn't see any of those, and when they announced Short Treks at the start, they said, "Oh, these are not going to be important to anything. They're just standalone." And of course, they were lying, because nearly every Short Trek got a tie-in.
Mr. Fat Cat Paramount's over there counting his bills.
The only one that doesn't tie in technically is Calypso at this point, I think, because it's so far off in like the distant future.
Yeah, but there's a lot of little things that come up from Callisto.
Oh, actually, because it
has tied in now.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah. And he's from
Lias.
he mentions the planet the craft is heading to, and
oh my God, that's right, Lias.
It's Lias. Well, and that disappoints me, because they should. One, you're right. They shouldn't be integral to. They should be ancillary. They should add to the fact. Like, if you didn't see the lead into Discovery season 2, you had really no idea who Poe was when she shows up. And then previously on Discovery are bits from the Short Trek that some folks might not have seen. And that Short Trek was fun, but you shouldn't have depended on that to get you to where it was. And then
so to give a good example is, for example, Saru's backstory.
Yeah,
I think the Saru backstory Short Treks is very well handled, because it gives you a glimpse of as to what his life was, etc. With his sister, but they still take the time. His sister isn't just randomly pops out of nowhere in the season, right? Like, they still take the time to explain what's going on.
Yeah.
But what I would say is, hopefully Paramount Plus solves that problem for us, now that we should have unified somewhat worldwide distribution day and date with our UK friends, so that we don't. I'm so sorry, Linda, and Irish friends.
Rest of the world
don't-
friends. The whole rest of the world.
Yeah, rest of the world friends. Yeah, fair, absolutely fair. And because shit, man, with Lower Decks, you literally had to cry yourself to sleep at night to avoid spoilers.
Yeah, that was a long few months, all right.
How was
And
that? How was
I
that?
didn't.
Were they unavoidable?
They were on, do you know what? I muted all the hashtags. I muted every single hashtag and word to do with Lower Decks. And people are people, and they just screenshot the episode and present it without comment. And you're like, yeah, thanks for that. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'm looking at you other YouTube trickies. I love you guys, but you can't use the final shot of an episode as your friggin' thumbnail, alright?
Yes.
Rude.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's. I know that we're in an age where it's like you have access to the episode straight away, but you're watching it at bloody midnight when it comes out in the US.
Yeah, that's
like,
unfair.
Not even without even taking
And-
into consideration that it's going to come out in months' time in the rest
But-
of the world.
but
Canada
even-
only sees it 3 hours later.
Even in general, though, it's not good to put the last bit of some.
Yes.
Like I've
Yeah.
never seen The Sopranos or any. I've never seen
Right.
Game of Thrones, but it's no way I can watch that now because I just think it's not cool. It is not cool to spoil anything.
Hopefully, Paramount Plus solves the problem, and we'll all have Paramount
So that the
Plus,
fandom can unify.
and we can all
you
watch
know.
everything, all of the Star Treks and all of the short treks. Hopefully, like all of the different cuts as well. Give me the director's cuts and the theatrical cuts. Let me choose as well. I want to be able to like.
I want
toggle
all 15
between-
versions of the motion picture, please.
I want the original series and like remastered and original version as well. I want to be able to toggle between that. Anyway.
Listen to the fans. Listen to the fans. Also, DS9 and HD. Oh, I'm sorry.
What was that?
One more little, I suppose, angry comment about, and I don't mean to diss the extended universe creators out there, the people that write the books and the comics and all of that. But in kind of Nemesis's defense, I feel like that for years and years, people criticized the whole B4 aspect and how he whistled the Data thing, and I feel like a lot of people took away from that. It's because basically Data transferred his memory into B4. B4 is going to become Data, and the comic books ran with that for a while. They they basically just overwrote B4 entirely, put Data in his body, and then made him captain of the Enterprise. And people basically assumed that was, that's the future, that's what's happening. I hate that so much. I hate the fact, I feel like Data would never do that to B4. That's not in his personality.
No, to subsume someone
Right,
else.
to take his brother's
Yeah.
body and no, he would much prefer to let his brother live out his life, even if it isn't as fulfilled or as accomplished as his own.
Well,
And-
especially too with even with the memory of having been manipulated and abused by lore through the emotion. He would probably be super reluctant to do that to somebody else.
Yeah, and I feel like these are all things that people read into Nemesis, but that were never in Nemesis. Like, Nemesis just opened a door. Nemesis had B4 do the whistle, and it reminds you of Data, and so you're like, okay, so Data transferred his memory, but what does that mean? And the door was open, and that's it. And I feel like Nemesis got a lot of shit for that, but Nemesis didn't give you the answers.
No.
I suppose,
Well,
in that
and
situation.
to your point, that they, how they ran with the Data aspect of the rewrite, that literally is Data is in charge of the Enterprise in the countdown comic to Trek 2009. That's the story that gets, like how Spock gets to the Hobus.
Yeah.
Supernova is with Data in command of the Enterprise. So it kind of leads, and that was semi-canonical until it wasn't, and that's kind of, but that again, that's, if you want to fill your gaps with that, you can.
Yeah.
If not, use your imagination, or just take the canon that's on screen. Take the pieces that you enjoy, and that's why we can have these discussions about a film like Nemesis, where we feel like we might be the outliers in the fandom for this particular film, but it is something that we've all three enjoyed, and we've had an enjoyable conversation about it. Right?
I don't feel bad. I would feel bad maybe trying to defend not the undiscovered country. Sorry, the Final Frontier. Maybe I don't feel or Into Darkness. I can't defend Into Darkness, but I can defend Nemesis. I'm fine with that.
You know, speaking of a film that could be saved with like 3 changes of dialogue.
Oh yes. That's a whole nother podcast.
That's something we should do that, y'all. We should do like quick overdubs. Hey, okay, 3 changes of dialogue and one clothes changing scene that we could do without, and that's actually. I was
gonna say drop the scene, right?
Yeah, because I mean, I was disgusted with it at the time it happened. I was like, really, guys, isn't this what we're not doing anymore? But whatever. I mean, it played into the trope of Kirk as whatever, but at the same time, you know. I've had a really great time talking with you guys about Nemesis.
Yeah, me too. It's rare that we get to actually, talk about good things, because the internet is full of, God, who hated this? Yeah, me, I hated that. Yeah, let's just talk about nice things. It's all right to like things.
It is all right to like things.
Yeah, you always have to defend things too now. It's always a fight online, right? It's like, I'm over these fights. You know what? Admittedly, I was one of the people that were fighting, this side or that side at a time, but I'm over that. I'm over it now. I just tweet the funniest thing I can come up with, or sing a song. You know what?
And, I've taken to not engaging. If you come along with a negative comment on something that I was obviously trying to be positive about, I just ignore it.
Yeah.
Like, I just scroll on by because,
Go back to Remus.
Especially... Yeah, go back to Remus. And this isn't to discourage new folks from scrolling my timeline, because everyone's welcome to follow me. We'll sort the details later. But if you're just some rando drive-by and you come in with negativity, I'm like, I got no time for this.
Yeah.
I'm here to have a good time. And one thing, there are, I would say perhaps a dozen. Maybe a dozen overall hours of Star Trek through its 800 plus hours of content that I skip. Code of Honor, Up the Long Ladder, several episodes of the original suit, like Miri and What Little Girls Are Made Of. Man, creepy stuff. Yeah. But overall, I can find something to enjoy in all of it, even the Final Frontier.
That's fair.
Yeah, I have to do one of these. We did a Star Trek Nemesis Extravaganza today. I have to do like something else for like the Final Frontier. Get some, because I know there are people out there that just love it and that will defend it with their lives.
I will be on that show.
Oh,
I will defend Final Frontier.
And I know Jesse Jinder loves Enterprise, so I got to do a discussion about Enterprise.
What's not to love? What is not to love? Enterprise is yeah, it has problems, but I'm a fan of Enterprise.
All right. That about wraps it up, unless you guys have any like final comments about Nemesis.
I just want to draw attention one more time to the beautiful special effects and that battle choreography that just it's so good.
The crash. We didn't even mention the crash, the ramming, the ship ramming.
Yeah, perfect technique.
Oh yeah, that was a great scene.
And mirrored in the opening of Trek 09 with the Kelvin ramming the Narada. I mean, it's like poetry. It rhymes. There's a beginning and an end. But one of the things that always stands out to me about like First Contact is that blending of CG and practical effects, and it doesn't look that good again until Nemesis to me.
I think the shuttles don't look as... Like, in my rewatch yesterday, I noticed that the shuttles didn't look as good as the ships, like, from the final battle. But I think it's probably because just the way you make a movie is you're gonna invest more money in that big, climactic battle sequence, I suppose, than you are in Picard and the shuttle in the hallway.
Mm-hmm.
That makes more sense. But, yeah, it is a beautiful, beautiful film. Linda?
I just wanted to add something about those little shuttles that they did have. Originally, they had made them covered in the same kind of material that the uniform was made out of, the lovely petrol-y kind of one, but they decided it didn't look menacing enough, so they got rid of that and made them stealthier. Yeah.
So, thank you, Linda, for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Dan, for joining us.
Absolute pleasure.
It was a pleasure having both of you on. Thank you for listening, everyone. Live long and prosper. Stay safe. You can check out these wonderful people on the Twitters and on the YouTubes and everything. I'll put the links in the description. And live long and prosper. See ya.